you're here for Kickstarters, we've got them. We're here to tell you what we think are the coolest, newest Kickstarters for the week of September 23rd, 2019. The creators of Chronicles of Crime are back with another story app-driven game, Times of Legends Destinies. This actually takes place in the world of a different game from a different creator, Times of Legends Joan of Arc. However, this game is all about you playing unassuming heroes and trying to discover your destinies. This is a game that uses an app which will have you go around a board and make different choices, such as whether you kill a soldier, they say, for an example, or maybe help heal him. Now, you'll put these in the app and they will help decide your destiny and also affect the game board. You also build up stats. And I should mention, unlike Chronicles of Crime, this is not a cooperative game. You are all competitive in each trying to reach your destiny first. We have played Chronicles of Crime, and we are very happy, I think, with how that works. And it uses a similar idea with scanning cards with different QR codes. And because of the way the game works and interacting with each other, maybe some of those codes could work differently if that they mentioned like how it's different story beats occurring, and maybe if you did or did not help that soldier out.
I was impressed by this from the log line that is, expansive, RPG, app-driven and all that, and it's like $50. It's like, it's a game. Usually when you see a game with that description, I'm ready to see the price be like $120. Yeah. So, this seems like maybe it could be a cool mid-budget, kind of game, but still getting that sort of larger-than-life experience with exploration and all that kind of stuff.
Right. I noticed in the comment section there was a bunch of people asking, because, like I said, this is based on Joan of Arc. Is Joan of Arc in the game? And they seemed to be a little bit iffy on it. They said they weren't sure yet. And I was a little worried, like, oh, don't tell me this is one of those things where they didn't get the copyright product yet. But it actually seems that the Mythic Games, the ones who made the Joan of Arc game, are actually going to do another Kickstarter soon. I don't know if it's for whole new products or second print. So my guess is we're going to actually find out later on. They might spoil a little bit to be like tie-ins, because they did say that I don't know whether it's Joan of Arc products mixed with this or this can mix with Joan of Arc. But they said there was some kind of mixture and they would have a stretch goal for it. But as far as I know, none of them say that. So I think there is more to come from this. So if you are a fan of the Joan of Arc game, you probably at least want to follow this and see if they have more info involving that. But like you said, they've already proven themselves with Chronicle of Crime. I am curious how the competitiveness works, because I do feel like we played Detective, which is a competitive mystery solving game, and that does change something that usually is a cooperative game in the aspects which could be for better or for worse depending on your style. I'm curious how the competitive nature works in this game. For the base, it's just $49, as you said, around $50. There are, of course, some other expansions. One that's apparently free if you back now and will only be sold on their side. And like I said, also maybe to keep an eye out, because there might be some more stuff that's designed to mix with the Joan of Arc game that it is based on.
Step right up. Our next Kickstarter pick is the Grand Carnival. Did you like my little intro? Hope you did. So this one comes from Uproarious Games and designer Jeff Beck, who worked on Hardback, the deck building game, and some other games with Tim Fowers, who's done a lot. And it has the same illustrator as Paperback, Hardback, Burgle Bros, if you've played any of those games. This one has, of course, a very cartoony 1930s style, and every player is trying to create the best carnival that they can. Definitely inspired by and reminds me of Roller Coaster Tycoon and other similar classic kind of sim games from back in the day. And you are getting tiles, you're laying tiles on your own personal board and deciding whether you're building attractions of different sizes or perhaps walkways, and then adding customers, people who are attending your carnival, and you want to get them to the rides to get you tickets, to get you points. What also makes it interesting is on your turn, before you take an action, you choose a number between 1 and 5, and that number determines the power of the action that you take. So maybe you get to do 2 things if you pick the number 2, but you're not going to be able to pick 2 again for the rest of the round. So you have to decide, what are you focusing on? Which action do you need the most for? Which can you kind of get away with doing a little bit less this round? Sounded like a lot of neat stuff, and like I said, just the general Roller Coaster Tycoon-ness of it seems really fun to plan out the layout of your little park.
I haven't played any of the Tycoon games, but this is another one I saw and it looked really fun. I did love the aspect, the way of building and the numbers of sort of deciding when you want to trigger that effect. But I also noticed that there was a fun thing, like you unlock abilities that I believe though it was worded to trick customers, because in the end, that's what we're doing here.
There's some swindling going on. I don't know if they have any of those booths where you try to shoot the water gun, or throw the ring on the bottle, but it's impossible.
Rigged carnival games.
Yeah, that could be maybe as an add-on. So this one goes for $39. Check it out, the Grand Carnival.
Edge of Darkness from AEG has a new expansion now on Kickstarter titled Cliffs of Cold Harbor. It's a new snow-covered area, very unique title. This, of course, adds new locations, as well as enemy cards and heroes. The Kickstarter for the base just delivered or is being shipped out now. This is now for the new expansion. It includes, you can get the old base and I believe exclusive as well. There's also an upgrade. It sounds like the previous thing had a bag and a couple other components that weren't as well as they thought, but you can choose to get that on the site. You don't need to back this Kickstarter. I'd say focus on this more if you want the new stuff or if you missed out on the last one. There's also an interesting expedited pledge level where you can, I think they kept a couple stuff from the first Kickstarter so you can get this year. However, it said limited supply for some of the stuff, so I don't know how that's going to work. But I mean, Edge of Darkness was a huge game. Everyone's got Mystic Veil in essence was the tutorial for this. We played it and we've talked a lot about our thoughts about it, so I felt like this is one we had to mention.
Yeah, we like the card crafting thing where you're putting cards in sleeves and changing how they work. For some reason, I mean, I did really like when we played it, but it kind of fell off my radar. I think it's such a big game, and we never really got into playing it more on our own time. But a lot of people like it and has really cool ideas in it. So I'm curious to see how the expansion is received and how it adds to it, because there already was a lot to that game. It's kind of a big deal.
There's a lot this Kickstarter is offering. If you were lucky enough to already get the base in the first Kickstarter, this expansion for Cold Harbor is only $40. But like we were saying before, there's an upgrade kit, there's multiple expansions, I think at least 3. And of course, if you missed out on the first one, you can pick up the original Edge of Darkness now.
7 Bridges is a new roll and write game from Puzzling Pixel Games. They call it a stroll and write. It's just a roll and write. That's just a fun title. It's not different. But everyone is trying to design, plan out the blueprints more or less for their own city. And the way it works is you're rolling dice, and each turn, each player will get to draft one of those dice. And the dice have different lines on them, different types of lines. Maybe a cross, maybe an L shape, or just a straight line. And the one that you take determines what type of road you're allowed to draw onto your little personal map, which I thought was kind of a cool, interesting mechanic that takes what was built in other roll and write games, but maybe feels a little bit different. And then the way that you score points is from different things throughout the game, different types of roads, building paths, trees, filling in different areas. But the catch is there are 7 bridges in the map, and if you don't draw a line across all 7, then you can't score all 7 of the end game scoring conditions. So if you only crossed off 5, then you would take the top 5 that you managed to score and get those points. So it's really important that you balance your bridges along with the different conditions you want to meet for it. So I just thought this sounded cool. Maybe nothing that's going to, blow the doors open in terms of roll and write games. A lot of them are starting to feel kind of samey to me. But I thought that there was interesting stuff with the way the bridges work.
That bridge thing is interesting. I think isn't that like a famous math problem? I think involving crossing bridges. I'm really curious
I don't know.
about now. It seemed to.
You're asking the wrong guy about famous math problems.
But that does sound really fun. The idea of just you're walking, that you're just drawing your line.
Right.
So that does sound cool, and just in essence, it's about having a good journey, I guess, is really the goal of the game.
Yeah, it's nice. You can get this one for $27. There's also a print and play if you're into that kind of thing. It's called 7 Bridges.
We're going to end this Pickstarter Picks with our travels from XYZ Games. This is all about yarn and knitting, and you can definitely see that with all the puns they have throughout the game. This is a game when you will choose a character with a unique ability, and you're all about going to the store to get your yarn, knit projects, and then get some maybe those special projects to include maybe doing soft toys or from what I've seen, it looks like a turtleneck for a nice sauropod. Nothing too crazy. It just looked very cute and fun. I love the knitting theme, and each character had these fun, unique abilities. Like one's a bit more thrifty, one's more about being able to do things with different yarns. It just seemed like a fun game, especially if you're into the knitting style with the cute art style.
Yeah, I think there's nothing wrong with, this the kind of tried and true, you get the things, you turn them into the things. Like sometimes that's all you need, just a nice simple game. And like you said, especially if you're into knitting or yarn or whatever, or someone in your life might be a decent gift for them. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
It's only $35, so not too hard on the wall compared to some many other games at this point. In fact, this was probably one of our lighter Kickstarters this week.
Yeah.
So you can check it out now.
In addition to our regular picks this week, we also put out 2 preview videos. One for Camp Pinetop, which is a game about going around as campers and trying to get badges.
We've also got Sovereign Skies, which is a game in which you are all competing for influence among 6 planets to prove you are the best human faction.
So some pretty cool ones, I think, definitely worth checking out. And like you said, all of them under $50 this week. So nothing wrong with that. Talk to us in the comments. As always, we want to know, what did you back? Are you an Edge of Darkness freak? You getting that expansion? Or are you trying one of these new games out? Maybe you know more about the Joan of Arc game than we do,
Like you said, let us know in the comments down below. We can't wait to hear your thoughts. But until then, I'm Will.
I'm Jonathan.
This has been Roll for Crit.
If you want to help out, you can check out our Patreon, or a simple click to like and subscribe can go a long way.
We really appreciate everything that you can do for us. We love you.